when it comes to Spy Coast Farm, it's a multi-dimensional farm.
Yes.
And for those who are not familiar with the equine industry like we are, what does multi-dimensional mean in that sense?
Well, it means as opposed to just doing one thing well, we do many things well. So instead of just, say, breeding horses, I also have other divisions. And so the other divisions are rehab and fitness training for horses, a stallion station, a CEM quarantine, an education center, a young horse development center, as well as my reproductive barn, which we're in right now.
Right, so when, a lot of times when you visit horse farms, it's like one farm does breeding, one farm does education, one farm does training. Why did you decide to make it do all these things well?
Well, that's a journey down a rabbit hole. It's actually the way my brain worked. I am a nurse, first and foremost. I have my master's in management for healthcare. And so when I approached breeding, I realized as I went along that I needed all the other elements to make this business function properly. And there were economies of scale to be had and savings to be had if I expanded the business.
Yeah.
So that's kind of why it grew organically.
Yeah, one of the things that, you know, I always like to creep on anybody I'm having a conversation with, but one of the things I really have enjoyed just even on the internet getting to know about you is really your business acumen and kind of how you got into it. I mean, nurse by trade, equine by way of your daughter, right? Yep. But how do you come up with these visions, right? Like how do you also, it's not just a feeling, right? But it's also the educational and economic background you had. So I'm really interested in how your mind works a little bit.
Well, the aha moment was when I was watching my daughter ride in the high junior jumpers, which is that's kind of the high end of what kids do. And I was watching I knew the kids and how they rode. And then I was watching how their horses went because I was a good show mom and I just stayed away from the training business. And I realized that these were truly the best horses on the showgrounds. And I started just thinking about that and wondering what happened to them after they were done with these kids. And of course, I owned some of them myself, so I was wondering what goes on, and I realized that we didn't have a real organized breeding program for that kind of show jumper here in America, and but that the breeding stock we had purchased, Americans had purchased some of the best breeding stock in the whole world and brought them here, but then they weren't doing anything with it. So I saw an opportunity. There was clearly, I could have obtained the resource for not much money, and there was an opening that nobody else was really taking advantage of. And I knew from my nursing background that even though I was breeding older mares to get those foals, that I could do that technologically. I was aware of what needed to be done and I could get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I love that you kind of saw an opportunity and seized it. And it kind of goes to how you've built Spy Coast Farm and even the opportunities that you lend to people to work for you. Talk a little bit about having those opportunities and how welcoming you are as Spy Coast Farm to pretty much anybody that needs that opportunity.
Yeah, well, and that's sort of, the genesis of that came from what my children were involved in now that they're a little bit older, and also COVID. And in speaking with my children, some of who work with, I have 2 children, and they work with more disadvantaged folks, people who are coming out of incarceration or are currently in incarceration, or who have been victims of war crimes overseas. So I was thinking about it, and I thought, you know, there are populations here in our area that could really benefit from working outside in agriculture, and we could certainly benefit by working with them. And the magic that happens in particular between a horse and a person in need or with any kind of mental illness or neurodiversity or a physical ailment even, that magic that happens I don't have to do a thing to have that happen. The horses do that.
Yeah.
So inviting those kinds of people in to interact with the horses that were here, I've always tried to monetize my herd.
Yeah.
And make them do something more than just sit in a stall. Hi, Henry.
Oh.
And so that's why I started thinking about having other groups of people come and work for us. And I started with the Blackburn Correctional Facility and their program there. And with that, we met with what I thought was very good success. And my whole team was very comfortable with that, and it worked well. And so I said, well, you know, at the time, DEI was a huge deal,
Right.
a newer kind of a program that people were embracing. And I thought, you know, I should really be reaching out to some of the African American and children of color in Lexington who may not even have interacted with a farm
Realize
situation.
that this is such a huge industry. Because
Right.
for so long, I feel like some people think of equine as one way. So for you to kind of, you know, be one of the trailblazers and trying to open up and bridge that gap, I mean, what would you say to other, you know, horse farm owners or people in the equine industry looking to diversify their hiring processes, or just in general of people who have knowledge and education about the equine industry?
Right. I think one of the key features of opening yourself up to other sources of non-traditional workers, shall we say, is to really make an emphasis on being welcoming and foster a sense of belonging. If you don't do that, then no one's going to be comfortable with it. And I always try to impress on people that those people are helping me as much as I'm perceived as helping them.
Right.
So someone's worth has got to be felt, and that's why I pay these people as well.
Yeah.
Right. I give them some kind of a benefit. Either we're giving them an educational seminar, or we're actually asking them to do some barn work, and we pay them to do it. So that's where the magic happens, is when we're helping one another.
Yeah, and I love that that is at the forefront, because obviously you're still running a business, but to be able to really tap into the local community. Now you have different farms in Wellington, Florida, and in North Carolina, but what would you say that where Lexington really shines and separates itself from the pack in your experience with it?
This is where it really all happens.
Yes.
My one in Florida I lease out, and the one in North Carolina, it runs a trail riding thing, but it's not where our business functions in a big way. This is really the main act, and this is the place to do it. Horse capital of the world. I mean,
you said it, the horse capital of the world, Lexington, Kentucky. And I there's another place that might refer to themselves as that, but we know we're the real horse capital.
I can't even think of it. It's not even coming to mind.
Right, what are we talking about here? But when it really comes to like equine and it being in Lexington and shining on center stage, one of the things that I've enjoyed learning about Spy Coast is like the educational opportunities and the education that you present. What was the inspiration in building that facility and expanding?
It's funny, believe it or not, it was a business idea. Originally I thought, gee, I was in the middle of building the new indoor arena, and I was sort of putting the finishing touches on the rehab and fitness center, and I needed a product to cover the floor, and it was a very expensive product. And I got to thinking about influencers and social media, which I'm really not on or not good at.
It always changes. Yes.
The concept was there. And I said, you know, hey, I'm an influencer, and if I created a space where I could highlight other businesses and other equestrian products and things like that, maybe they'd give me a deal on my flooring or whatever else. Well, that particular thing didn't work out, but other things have. So it's really a forum by which we can highlight different products and techniques and things like that for the equestrian community. And we have conferences who lease, equestrian related conferences that lease out the space. And our people are able to go there and meet those people, and we get to monetize our horses.
Yes.
and I have interns, say, holding the horses while they're doing something to them as part of the conference. And so it's just that intermingling and just the exposure of all those different people to one another that is inspiring. That's what I wanted to have happen.
Yeah.
And also save a few bucks. But now, when we rent it out, we do make a few bucks.
Right. I mean, like at the end of the day,
It took time.
Yes.
Because COVID hit right after we opened it.
I mean,
so that shut everything down. But some of the school children would go in and do their schoolwork in there because it's a big room.
Hey, as long as it's being utilized for something.
Exactly.
One of the things I want to touch on is like you being an influencer. Like you are an influencer, and I know a lot of times that word kind of gets hijacked because it's just social media influencer, but really influencing the industry and community. And I heard you have a mug that says "Boss Lady" on it, and I'm like. You're a boss, okay? But how has it been? For so long, equine has been very male dominated, and we see those demographics changing every single day. But how is it, being an influencer as a woman in equine?
Well, it's a female-owned business,
yes,
and largely run business. We do have, of course, we have males on the staff and whatnot, but. If you're not comfortable working with women, you shouldn't come here. but I don't find that to be the case. But we do bring a whole other kind of slant to the industry, and I like to say we like to create future badasses. So.
I mean, hey, you are. Can we say that? I
don't know if we can say it.
No,
I
was telling her. I was like, oh my gosh, like she is a badass. Just what I've been looking up on you. So I'm just like. I mean, just to see what you've been able to create and the type of environment. When I was talking to Emily, she's been here for 7 years, and I was like, oh, well, you must love it, because to be able to have this type of staff, even though it is a large farm, just talking to people here, they're just like, no, like it really does feel like a family. When I'm driving in, everyone's waving. And I think that not only speaks to what you're creating, but like really the environment, I'm a Lexingtonian myself, but really the environment that's been created over, I won't even say as we've opened up these horse farms for people to experience over the past decade. So what is, even outside of the equine industry, one thing that you really love about Lexington and the Bluegrass region?
Oh, well, let me answer that other question first. That other thing, let me just put a point on it.
Yeah, please do.
I really believe that people should enjoy the work they do.
Absolutely.
They do it 40 plus hours a week. So you're not going to do your best job if you're not enjoying it. One of the things I love most about Lexington, beside the food and the restaurants, which are particularly good for this size of a city.
I know, I tell people that all the time. We are a culinary destination.
We really
people
are.
always sleep on us, but then when they come here, they're like, oh, I get it.
Yeah, for sure. But also the group of people that are here. There are a lot of, I call them eccentrics. There's eclectic mix of people here, and a lot of them are doing what they like to be doing. And maybe that's because they happen to be working with horses, but I think it's true in other areas, whether it's being a cook or being a distiller or whatever. There's a lot of people here in Lexington who actually do what they like. And so there's an upbeat social attitude that I find particularly appealing.
Yeah, here. I mean, I know you're from Long Island, or
No, I'm not from Long Island.
Oh, you lived in Long Island. Yes.
Two very different things.
That is. Don't want to offend anyone. No, but I have friends that visit me from New York every single year, and everybody's like, "Why do y'all come to Lexington?" They're like, "We can get a luxury, like a very high class experience for a fraction of the cost, but like it's actually a really friendly city. There's things to do." So. One of the things that I will always find interesting when talking to people like you that have really grown into this successful, entrepreneur is like the challenges. So what would you say has been one challenge for you that doesn't have to be the biggest challenge. I know there's plenty of challenges
happen every day, right? But that's one of my big loves in life is creative problem solving.
Yeah.
And so I try and instill in the people who work with me as well that, yeah, stuff's going to happen, but you have to come up with an interesting, creative way to solve the problem, right? So I would say probably the single biggest problem we have is getting good staff and maintaining staff. And I don't think that's different for
any industry.
Any of the other industries around, and certainly not farming.
Yeah.
So that's probably the ongoing one. I've got a great HR gal who's taken that on as her, that's her thing. She has to creatively problem solve, and she's doing a great job of it. But that's an ongoing issue for us.
Yeah. I mean, I love what you say, being solution oriented, because it does no good just to point out the problem. Like, let's figure out a way to overcome it. What is one thing that you would say if no one knew anything about Spy Coast, no one knew anything about Lexington, like what is one thing that you would tell them about here or this community or even yourself?
I think it's a terrific place to come and visit and to learn a lot, in particular about equestrians, about horses, and but also about distilleries and the bourbon industry in particular. But I think there's so much to learn here. There's such a variety of options for how to intersect with the equestrian community that it's definitely worth a look-see, and a visit to come to. So that's what I would say.
And one final question, what can we expect from Spy Coast Farm or Lisa in the future?
Oh boy.
That's a loaded one.
Yeah,
and you can have multiple answers, but I really want to know what people can look forward to. I'm
really interested in investigating the space between education and actual practice. And how can that plasma that's in between those two spaces, how can we be effective in that space and produce people who really want to do their jobs and change the other spaces so that they welcome those people in their new way that they look at it. I think there's almost like a generation gap in between how young people want to be treated and what kind of work they want to do. And it's part of our job as educators and as employers to incorporate that in the way we do our business. And so that place, that education/work plasma space, that's where I want to focus on for my next moves, I think. Yeah, I mean, I think that totally makes sense with merging that gap, because I've heard it a lot within the equine industry, that multi-generational thing, but it comes with openness. Not only are you teaching them, but they're teaching you. So. Well, I'm new to this industry. You have to understand that. I didn't know anything about horses. But honestly, that's probably so beneficial. It is. That you're coming from the outside looking in, and so that's why you've been able to really create and do things a little differently and not industry standard. That's exactly right. You're a disruptor, and we love disruptors. In a good way. Yes, a good disruptor. But I think 90%, over 90% of people going into veterinary medicine are female. So there's a lot and the numbers of large animal vets are going down significantly. So there's a lot that can be done there to make the job more attractive, as well as produce more people who want to do that job and can do it well. So that's a really interesting space that needs to be looked at as well. Well, Lisa, I appreciate you. I appreciate your vision. I appreciate you taking time to come and talk to us and really, looking beyond just equine in order to, give a lot of people opportunities
and to create space for others. So thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure. We really love having the kids come out here, especially.
Hey, well, I know about a lot of other youth programs that would love to come out here.
Bring them on.
Okay, remember you said that.
No problem. I've got a gal for that.
Okay. Well, thank you.
I'll give you her number.
All right, I'll take it.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks.
Running, horse running, you're like a horse running.